अच्छा,
मैंने स्किप किया इस बारी।
क्योंकि मीत सर
तो
भी थे और एक तो फोटोज और भी थी, तो मैं देख रहा था, मैं क्या सर तो दिख नहीं रहे कहाँ के।
कहाँ देखी फोटो? मेरे को भी दिखा दो।
नहीं, वैसे ही ट्विटर पे सर दो तीन किसी ने पोस्ट करके थी, पूरी ऑडियंस की थी, तो आई वाज सर्चिंग कि कहाँ है सर।
नहीं यार, मैं नहीं गया। was
ओके।
not very well, so I avoided. चलो, तो हमने एक वो देखा था where we looked into price to sales and where we looked into what makes this price to sale and ये सब चीजें हमने देखी थी. So next I want to ask you is I posted an Amazon example today morning. So who all have seen that Amazon example?
सर आई हैव रेड इट।
तो उसमें क्या पढ़ा आपने?
कि बॉटम लाइन ज्यादा ज्यादा रिटर्न दे रही है कंपेयर टू द टॉप लाइन, एंड विदाउट अपने प्रोडक्शन की बजाय वो थर्ड पार्टी से बेटर अर्न कर पा रहे सर रिटर्न।
हाँ सर, सॉरी, क्या बोल रहे थे? मैं सुना नहीं, मैं और क्लिक कर रहा
सर वो सेइंग कि अमेजोन को बॉटम लाइन में ज्यादा रिटर्न मिल रहा है ड्यू टू थर्ड पार्टी जो सेल हो रही है, जो टॉयलेट पेपर का एग्जांपल दिया था आपने उसमें।
हूँ। So what else can you make out of that text which I have written? Hello. What else can you make out of that? Anybody else? हेलो।
सर
जो मैंने लिखा है उसका कुछ और आपको कुछ समझ में आ रहा है? कैन यू मेक आउट समथिंग फ्रॉम दैट? बॉटम लाइन ज्यादा बड़ी है, वो तो चलो अच्छी बात है, वो तो अच्छी बात है, आपको समझ में आ गया। बट व्हाट एल्स कैन यू अंडरस्टैंड ओवर देयर? तो पोस्ट योर व्यूज। आई हैव रिटन यू समथिंग अबाउट Amazon today morning only, and if you want you can read that again.
without doing much of a extra capex or capital employed, the Amazon getting the more return.
वो ठीक है, वो एक अपना वेयर हाउस स्पेस किसी और को दे रहा है, दैट इज व्हाई इज गेटिंग मोर रिटर्न. So the thing is, what is the absolute number of dollars or the absolute number of rupees you are getting on the on the gross level of sales? So what revenue is high profit generating and what revenue is not high profit generating? This is also a key factor to determine your price to sales ratio. और मेरा कहने का मतलब ये था, जस्ट बाय लुकिंग एट द प्राइस टू सेल्स रेशियो यू कैन नॉट से कि दिस इज एक्सपेंसिव और दिस इज चीप, राइट? तो ये चीज आपको थोड़ा सा क्लिक कर रही है कि नहीं कर रही है? दिस इज व्हाट आई वांटेड टू आस्क. यार कोई बात ही नहीं करेगा, देन व्हाट इज द पॉइंट ऑफ द कॉल? इट्स
सर
नॉट अ वीडियो शेयर कॉल,
लास्ट
इट्स अ.
वाला
हाँ,
लास्ट वाला जो सेशन है वो समझ आया नहीं आया, ये पूछ रहे हैं आप?
नहीं नहीं, मैंने आज सुबह अमेजोन के बारे में कुछ लिखा था, वो पूछ रहा था जो लास्ट वाले सेशन से कनेक्टेड है. लास्ट वाला सेशन आपने देखा है तो अच्छी बात है, नहीं देखा तो जब टाइम मिलेगा तब देखिएगा, वो इशू नहीं है. So I'm asking about today's take. So Chetan ji is saying कि Amazon का sales कम रेट से बढ़ रहा था and the bottom line was growing at a faster rate, which is ठीक है, this is a good observation. So what can you understand with this? What I have written today morning at 8:40 a.m.
सर बेसिकली आप ये लिख रहे हो कि ये बोल रहे हो कि प्राइस टू सेल रेशियो से हम कैसे बोल सकते हैं कि कौन सा चीप है और
हाँ
कौन सा
हाँ
एक्सपेंसिव है?
हाँ हाँ हाँ, करेक्ट.
मतलब दैट इज द क्वेश्चन हियर, जबकि
That is not the question,
अ,
sir. होता क्या है कि when we look at multiples, when we look at relative valuation, we look at price to earnings, price to sales, price to जो भी हमारे multiples है,
हम्म
we are comparing the multiples. Now what I want to say
यस
is we have just picked up one multiple after we learned how to value startups by TAM analysis, by other different things which we saw in startups, and how to identify
हम्म
startups. This is the stage 3, stage 4 companies. So I've just taken a metric called price to sales. Now price to sales किसी का 2 है, किसी का 5 है, किसी का 10 है. तो जिसका 2 है वो cheap है, जिसका 10 है वो expensive है. So my saying over here is price to sales of 10 can be cheap and the price to sales of 2 can be expensive. To understand this is what I've written an example. और ये जो पिछला कॉल किया था वो इसी के बारे में था. जो मैंने Amazon के बारे में लिखा है, मैं दिस लिख के वापस ग्रुप में डालता हूँ. इसको एक बार पढ़ो क्या लिखा है. I'll wait. Once you read, then you say what you understand. And this is not in the context of only Amazon.
So Amazon is basically using its network to get more return from selling an any product as compared to selling its own product.
No, wrong. Well tried, but wrong. Anybody wants to try? These are two, 3 short messages. You can quickly read them.
So in this situation with the Amazon, now I mean, you've written the first message that they moved away instead of them producing, holding inventory and then selling. They're now only doing this where they're warehousing and then logistics supplying, right? And it's a service. It's basically they've moved it into a service, that part of their business.
See, first of all, I was not adamant to for you to. See, I was first not adamant to you to learn about Amazon. See, we are not investing in Amazon in India.
Yeah.
The States, and most of the people over here are not investing in Amazon. So what I wanted you to focus was on, see, Amazon made a base and they were buying something and they were adding a markup of say 25 cents and selling that. So every incremental dollar or every incremental rupee of sales was giving them 25 cents as on gross levels. So they were buying something they were selling something for $2 and the product was costing them $1.75. So every dollar of revenue was giving them 25 cents. Or every $2 is giving them 25 cents. Correct? Now what they did was they made a base, they had their warehouses, so they started leasing their warehouses. Now every incremental sales or every incremental rupee or every incremental dollar, every incremental revenue is getting them more gross margins than what they were doing earlier. I'm not worried about what Amazon is doing or what they were doing. That is not the point. So in a business, wherever you go and invest, can you get a sense that every incremental revenue which they get is going to be more profitable than the previous revenue what they already have? That is the point. Now it can be Amazon, it can be a chemical company, it can be a wood manufacturer company, it can be a tire company, any damn thing. That does not matter. Over here, you were trying to understand the reason behind what Amazon was doing. So to show you the reason, the point of discussion here is every incremental revenue, what level of profitability it gets to my business. If every incremental revenue gets to my business more the profitability than my previous revenue, then this incremental revenue is good. Point number 2. If in a business line or any new phase where I'm entering, every incremental revenue is in such a place where others cannot enter, barriers to entry. If you want, I can draw and show you because I'm speaking, you might not click. Give me 1 second.
Sir, I also like reading this paragraph, I found one more thing, which is like working capital model also will be like lighter in this case, because Amazon उसमें अब involved नहीं होगा in terms of making the toilet papers ना, the first example which तो working capital cycle जो मेरा है वो थोड़ा lighter up हो जाएगा.
वो ठीक है सर, वर्किंग कैपिटल बहुत आगे चला गया, वर्किंग कैपिटल की तरफ तो मैं पहुंचा ही नहीं, मैं एम जस्ट ऑन द टॉप लाइन ऑफ द P&L. See,
So they
what
basically changed their cost factor. Like if the cost
हाँ
factor
हाँ
was product based, now it's become like a service where
again again
like an
again
IT kind of.
again this is the reason. It is very good you are able to understand the reason, but in businesses, in places where you cannot understand the reason, can you reverse engineer this by looking at the numbers? This is what my aim today to focus upon is. This is suppose this is one business. Sorry. Suppose this is one business, business A. Suppose this guy is making 100 rupees of sales, correct? And the raw material cost is suppose 80 rupees. So he is making 20 rupees on gross margin. इसमें से इसको अपने सारे खर्चे वर्चे डेप्रिसिएशन इंटरेस्ट वो सब चीज निकालनी है, वो सब बात की बात है, वर्किंग कैपिटल वो सब बात, वहां तक तो मैं गया ही नहीं. This is second business, or this is the additional business which this business now he acquires an additional company or an additional line of business, or he starts an additional business. Here the sales are 50, correct? Now what we said over here is 80. Suppose the incremental cost, the cost for this business is 15, or let me make it 20. So we save 30 over here, correct? Now I'm not comparing this can be 20 and this can be, these are hypothetical numbers, so don't compare these numbers. One second. Anji. Sorry, I got a call. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So don't compare these 20 to 30. These are hypothetical numbers. They can be different. But when I compare the margins over here, so 3 by 5 is higher margin than 2 by 10. Getting it? So this incremental revenue, अब वो reason कुछ भी हो, वो Amazon क्या कर रहा है, या IT business है, या asset light business है, whatever the thing is, the reason can be any damn thing. You understand the reason, you are well enough. This incremental revenue getting this incremental profits is more valuable than any other business, suppose this guy acquires any other business where he might be doing a revenue of say 150, and here the cost would be 140. So the residual is 10. So market will give this a more valuation and will not give this a more valuation. Correct? Every damn business you cannot go and understand. Not at all possible. Can I look at the numbers and understand this? That is the thing. Just for a example, a very quick example. Right? So we have this green panel. Very easy example. Let's use this smart analyzer and understand. What is my gross margins in this? Say about 55%. I'm just taking a hypothetical number, 55%. Easily 55%?
Yes.
Yes.
उससे तो ज़्यादा ही है. And then I take a comparison. Say Rushil. Let's use a smart analyzer. Forget the market cap, forget every damn thing at the moment. What is the gross margins over here? Here. Now they have increased here.
45.
45. So why there is a difference of 10%? Mota 10%. Forget the absolute numbers. Why there is a difference of 10%? So suppose a sales from 270 going to 300, a sale of 30 crores. This 30 crores is getting you 40% of margins at the gross levels. Correct? So this 30 crores getting you 40% margin, and this what is 877 minus 600? This 300 crores is getting you 55% margin. See, I know 300 is 10 times 30. That is not the point. But this 300 would be given more value than this 30. Now that depends, number of shares कितना है, capitalization कितना है, debt कितना है, आपका stock price ऊपर जाएगा, overvalued है, नहीं है, क्या है, वो सब हजार तरह की बातें. Then what I'm saying is, in this business, I'll again change the color. In this business, which this guy is entering, this one. Suppose here he has barriers to entry. That means no other player can easily come here. No other player can come here. They cannot compete. He doesn't have competition over here. So what will happen is ROEs and ROCs will be high. Correct? His capital reinvestment would be low. And this incremental value of revenue, getting him incremental value, once you do these kind of things, markets value you like hell. Sir, 5 minutes करूं? अच्छा. Markets value you like this. No, example over here is, can you see something over here? Can you see this? Can you see this? This barrier.
Yes, sir.
Something happened? No, I'm not going into details. See, I know what happened. I'm not going into details what happened.
Revenue tripled.
2018 and 19. Now what happened when you go and study? Please mute. बच्चे की आवाज आ रही पीछे. 2018 and 19. Correct? Look at 2018 and 19. This was 2018 and 19. Revenue tripled. Market was still not giving you value. It was evaluating. Suddenly what has changed? Let's see what has changed. Revenue tripled. Was he able to maintain his 45-50% margins? Yes, he was able to maintain that. And he went into a line, and when he went into a line where his business tripled. Correct? Now, maintaining these gross margins, he started to reduce his cost of productions. The operating margins were never more than 12-13%. why the operating margins went to 17%, and that too in COVID, and he was able to maintain. So this 387 crores of revenue. So मेरा business कितना बढ़ा from say 100 crores to 400 crores, 4x, correct? But the profit has gone up by how many times? 5 crores to 30 to 40 crores. At least 5-6 times.
Yes, sir.
Because of all these things. Does market give them value? This was your this is the fall of your COVID. See, I'll just point out. This is your COVID fall. This is your COVID fall. Can you see this small dip over here? This is the COVID fall. And then see what happened. See, understanding the story is important. You get to know the story when you read like a dog. Correct? But understanding the numbers are also important. Revenue बढ़ गया तो यहाँ पर उसको 2018-19 में क्यों नहीं वैल्यू मिली? Still your numbers went up ना. 5 crores profit went to 18 crores profit. Profit went up 3x. So EPS might have jumped. अगर आपने वो नहीं किया होगा dilution तो EPS might have jumped. But stock price 30 rupees to 35 rupees. Did something happen?
So is it because it's not consistent yet and it hasn't affected operating margin yet?
That is the point. Markets need confirmation. That is the point. But it has not. You see this price to earning multiple went down. See, stock is not a jargon. I go and put 1 kilo weight on one side of the weighing scale and I get a 1 kg of increment. No. Multiples matter, margins matter, growth matters, and the quality of that growth matters. The quality of the growth means is we will, please pay me for my bad handwriting, but this box should always be ticking on your mind. And what you were saying कि Amazon is doing this or this guy is doing that, ये वो चीज है. अगर आपको उसका रीजन समझ आ रहा है and you can see this, you are in a better spot. Yes, markets need confirmation. They need 2 quarters, 3 quarters, maybe 6 to sometimes more. And once these confirmations are there, see, these are yearly numbers, 19 and 20. But I also have the quarterly numbers to keep a track. अभी तो नंबर चले गए वो. So wherever these kind of things happen, businesses go mad. Why was Avanti Feed the mega multipacker? This was 2012. Revenues were going. Revenues were jumping like anything. See, revenues double. Profit is stable. Why? You're losing on margins. So something happened in 2012 when the black shrimp changed to white shrimps and all those things happened. But till 2014, anything happened? Profits from 30 crores went to 70 crores. Anything happened? Revenues are growing. But were they able to make this revenue quality revenues? Were they able to do that? If you say yes, they were able to do that. They did it over a year. But यहाँ कौन कॉल में खुद मैनेजमेंट बोल रहा है कि these margins are not sustainable. I'll screw up. Correct? Now let's look at the price to sales multiple of Avanti Feeds. Were they ever given a high multiple of price to sales? Ever given? Max to max 4 times. So are these quality revenues? Absolutely no. Are these quality revenues? Absolutely no. Because 80% तो आपका ये खर्चे में ही चला गया ना, ग्रॉस में. बाकी खर्चे तो बाकी. So what is that incremental revenue getting to you? If it is a good amount of thing versus your EBIT versus your PAT and versus your cash flows, then you are well off. If it is not good amount of thing, just increasing this revenue is nothing. Like क्या नाम था कंपनी का यार, मैं भूल रहा हूँ। गोल्ड का काम करती है ना, गोल्ड लैंडिंग का काम करती है वो।
सर मन्नापुरम।
नहीं 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 यार, अरे नहीं नहीं, वो एक एक 2-2 लाख करोड़ का उसका रेवेन्यू है। आर से कुछ नाम है उसका, मैं भूल रहा हूँ। नेम राजेश एक्सपोर्ट, राजेश
राजेश
एक्सपोर्ट,
एक्सपोर्ट।
Rajesh Export. Now look at this revenue. So they are growing revenue at a very drastic pace. It should be wow. Still market doesn't value them. Have a look. 900 to 300 now. Why? Such a drastic growth and such a big company and such excellent revenues. What is the gross margin?
Sir, reduced from 3 and 4 level to 1.
Arre, 3 is also bad. One, anything below say
Yes.
8 to anything below 10 is bad.
Yes, sir.
Anything above 40 is good.
बट सर फिर ये ऐसे बिजनेस में क्यों है जब एफडी से कम रिटर्न भी हो रहा है और हम उसको भी
अरे ये रिटर्न नहीं है. दिस इज नॉट द रिटर्न. रिटर्न इज ओवर हियर. दिस इज द रिटर्न. दिस इज नॉट द रिटर्न.
ओके
दिस इज योर खर्चा, रॉ मटेरियल का खर्चा. एंड इन सच काइंड ऑफ बिजनेसेस, नाउ लेट्स गो एंड लुक एट द प्राइस टू सेल्स ओवर हियर. वर दे एवर गिवन अ हाई मल्टीपल ऑफ प्राइस टू सेल्स? जितना मर्जी रेवेन्यू बढ़ा लो, जो मर्जी कर लो, you will never get a multiple expansion. Chalo, my biggest mistake of my life, Thangamile jewelry. I lost in a single company at that time around $5 million. When my portfolio was not even 2 billion. Right? क्या है इसका gross margin? Is this incremental revenue getting down something? But markets are markets. They can do any damn thing. Is this company ever given a higher multiple to sales? Now, let's go in a similar kind of a business, Titan. इसके बहुत सारे businesses हैं, watches भी हैं, gold jewelry भी है. Now, look at this business. Is there a difference at the gross levels? So every incremental sales is getting them more or no? If your answer is yes,
Yes, it is, sir.
you can see the difference. Now, let's go for businesses which are see, one thing is also asset light business. तो वो asset light और asset heavy का वो जो दिमाग में एक notion है वो भी खत्म हो जाता है. Now, let's go to a business which is asset light और heavy का बाद में देखना. Were they given high multiples to sales? ठीक है, वही 10-11. Now look at their margins. This is an asset heavy business. Why do I say an asset heavy business? 3,000 crores of assets. ठीक है. Now let's try and look at a business which is asset heavy. Now which example can I give you? Any example of an asset heavy business जो आपके दिमाग में आता है? Sorry. कोई आता है आपके दिमाग में?
Like any power company, like Tata Power?
Any
or something?
steel or power company?
Tata Power. Okay, steel. APL Apollo. Asset heavy business, no? Correct? Look at the gross levels. So every incremental revenue is getting a mota 14-15%. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Are they given high multiples to sales? So getting it? So this is what you have to see. And once you get a conclusion in this, and once you understand that every incremental revenue is in, now suppose this incremental revenue is in a business where there is regulation, where others cannot enter. In this box where there is regulation, then can you get to this? Now look at IEX. अभी इसका वो रेगुलेशन वो गवर्नमेंट ने चेंज कर दिया, वो सब छोड़ो. Look at the gross margins and look at the OPMs. चलो छोड़ो, आइए तो आपको बहुत वो है. Look at प्राइवेट. Forget the stock price. ऊपर जा रहा है नीचे जा रहा है उससे कोई मतलब नहीं. Forget the stock price. Look at the gross margin and look at the operating margin. जितना इसका ऑपरेटिंग मार्जिन है उतना तो साला हमारा ग्रॉस मार्जिन नहीं होता. Just think what has happened. Sales from 45 crores has gone to 84 crores. मोटा मोटा 40 करोड़ की सेल बढ़ी, मोटा मोटा. Your PAT has more than doubled. Why? Because it's every incremental revenue is high margin. Just think, forget the PAT away. 84 crores की सेल्स की कंपनी को 2000 करोड़ मार्केट कैप नहीं बनता है. Why? Because इसको अयोध्या का मिल गया या जो भी है, इसका every incremental revenue has got high barriers to entry. तो ROC और ROE तो वो तो सब अच्छा होना ही है. Now compare this with IEX. 84 crore sales, 2000 crores market cap. यहाँ कितना सेल्स है? Hardly 170 crores, 200 crores. 200 करोड़ की सेल के मार्केट को 12,000 करोड़ मार्केट कैप बनता है क्या? नहीं ना. See, the numbers will be very small because to get into such a territory, to increase the numbers, to increase the business is very damn difficult. But then there are exceptions. These are exceptions. You see this? अभी मैं वर्किंग कैपिटल वो सब चीजें की बात ही नहीं कर रहा हूँ. कितना है आपका ग्रॉस मार्जिन? कम बैक टू 2012, 13, 14, 15. कितना है आपका ग्रॉस मार्जिन?
65.
Which is very high.
It is, sir.
Which is damn very high. So a continuous or a constant above 40% definitely denotes you got some kind of a pricing power, which we are not understanding. So this level of revenues, 8,000 crores, 10,000 crores. See, यहाँ से लेके यहाँ तक कंपनी क्या ग्रो करी है क्या? कुछ भी नहीं. 8,000 crores, 9,000 crores, again 9,000, again 8,000, again 9,000. 19-20 वहीं चल रही है. From 2012 to 2016, did something happen to the stock price? देखने की जरूरत ही नहीं. कहीं भी ले लिया होता आपने पिछले 20 साल में. आंख बंद करके आपने कहीं भी ले लिया होता. कोविड, नो कोविड, डिमोनेटाइजेशन, 2008 का कहीं भी ले लिया होता. You would have simply made money. Look at the market cap. Now in businesses where you have low levels of numbers, see again don't go by any bookish knowledge by numbers, where you have low levels of numbers. See this 15% flat. तो आप तो बोलोगे यार 40% होना चाहिए, 40% बड़ा अच्छा होता है यार, 15% अच्छा नहीं होता है, 10% is bad. In finance, books don't work. If 15% is not a good number, it is flat because these guys are retailer, right? Amazon was getting 25% on the markup, these guys getting 15%. Look at the volume at which the top line is growing. फिर क्या हुआ जी, ये कैपेक्स करता जा रहा है, ये करता जा रहा है, इसके पास तो फ्री कैश फ्लो ही नहीं है, इसका फ्री कैश फ्लो नेगेटिव है. एवरी टर्म Dick and Harry said this business is bad. There is till date there is no free cash flow. देखना है फ्री कैश फ्लो. किताब बोलती है, डॉक्टर मुझे मलिक साहब भी बोलते हैं कि फ्री कैश फ्लो जरूरी है, फ्री कैश फ्लो नहीं होगा तो धंधा खराब है, धंधा लेना ही नहीं चाहिए. फ्री कैश फ्लो इज बैड. करेक्ट. कहाँ है फ्री कैश फ्लो? कैश फ्लो इज 9,000 crores, खर्चा इज 13,000 crores. कहाँ है फ्री कैश फ्लो? फ्री कैश फ्लो इज नेगेटिव 4,000 करोड़, फ्री कैश फ्लो है ही नहीं. So it is supposed to be a bad business, no? Every time it falls, it goes up. Every time it falls, again goes up. Every time it falls, see what happens. Every time it falls, see what happens. Because look at the stability of the numbers. Margins intact. जितना मर्जी धंधा बढ़ा लो, जितना मर्जी धंधा बढ़ा लो, मार्जिन इंटैक्ट. बेचता क्या है? हाउस होल्ड आइटम्स तो बेच रहा है. Correct? So think on these lines and you will definitely get more out of it. Any questions? So now can we say just by looking at the price to sales we can do valuations? Yes or no? बोलो बोलो, या मेरी आवाज नहीं आ रही?
No, sir. There's a lot of factors.
There are a lot of factors. So the book will teach you price to sales, relative valuation, multiples. We have just looked at one factor. What is the residual value of every incremental dollar or an incremental rupee of sales? See, I'll be very frank on a recording call. Chennai नहीं जाना was some issues with my head and my health also. एक वो नहीं जाना, वहां जाके कुछ नहीं मिलना. I'll be very frank to you. Just one second. So there are a lot of factors. This was one factor. So are there more factors? No, think.
Sir, more factor in terms of?
Evaluating businesses on sales. Are there more factors? Yes, there are. वर्किंग कैपिटल में पैसे, मेरा पैसा फंस जाएगा तो मार्जिन कमा के भी क्या फायदा? मार्जिन कमा के सारा पैसा अगर बैंक वाला ले जाएगा इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट में, तो मार्जिन कमाने का क्या फायदा? So your top line is kind of something where you are in the gym, you are running on a treadmill. Till the time you are running, you are in a stationary position because the treadmill is going way up and down, up and down, up and down. आप थक जाओगे, वो ट्रेडमिल आपको पीछे गिरा देगा, फेंक देगा. You'll fall because there is no stop button over there. So books don't teach us all this. That is the problem.
सर आप
Alright?
वो आप कुछ मीट के बारे में कुछ बोल रहे थे.
देखो, मीट में जाके सिर्फ फोमो मिलना है, कुछ नहीं मिलना. 20 आए 20 आइडियाज, मुझे तो जानने भी नहीं कौन से आइडियाज है. Are they going to help me? Of course not. So when every Tom, Dick and Harry knows about these ideas, is there any value left in it? Maybe. If the smart ones realize the value, they're going to drive up the prices so fast, there's absolutely no value left in it. Or rather, some good person wants to exit. That is why the idea is shared with you. Trust me on this. In investing, nothing will be served to you on a platter. You will have to do your hard work on your own. And that is very frank about it. I can just give you the processes and ways to reach there, to find. You have to do it on your own. Nobody is going to serve you on the platter. कि ये ले लो और इसमें आपका पैसा बन जाएगा, नहीं होता. I can show you this is a portfolio of batch को और वो सब चीजें मॉडल पोर्टफोलियो दिखा सकता हूँ. बट आपको बोलो कि यार इससे you will create wealth, नहीं होता. You can create returns, no doubt about it. So when price to sales, maybe you have realized in the last 20-30 minutes, there are several factors. This is just one multiple. And no book, no Twitter, no course will give you all this. How do you evaluate moat in the numbers? So learn to be one or the other. Be a numbers person or be a narrative person. But if you are the chosen one, if you can be both, then you don't need any TIA and you don't need any education from somebody standing on the stage and giving you a 20-minute lecture of buy this and sell that. बिकॉज मैनेजमेंट को खुद को नहीं पता कि कल को क्या होने वाला है, तो हमको कैसे पता होगा? So when we started this call, we were reading about Amazon. We were reading about the reasons. So if I know the reason, and this guy is going into some place where the incremental revenue is going to get me more profits, correct? It's not regulated by price by government, right? And has some kind of a barrier to entry with others don't coming in. And if this guy becomes a low cost producer, I don't need to do anything for the rest of my life. फिर बेचने की जरूरत क्या है? ये तो समझ में नहीं आता कि sir, if you are bought, if you don't sell, how to book the profits? Rather, I am saying, if the business is correct, if you bought a good business, no matter little expensive, the time to sell it is never. I'll give you my own example. My father had bought some companies of Gujarat fluorochemicals when he was in college, some 100 shares. I get 10x the dividend of the money he had invested in 1979 or 1975 at that time. I'm still holding those shares. The time to sell it is never, and the stock price has gone up multi-x. पता ही नहीं कितने x ऊपर जा चुका है. So what are we doing? We are running after returns. Good enough. Play around. Or you are thinking of creating wealth. Choice is yours. I hope this helps. So with this, we have done with the price to sales multiples. And I hope you have some idea of how price to book and price to earnings multiple would fluctuate. All right?
Yes, sir. Sir, last वाली कॉल से एक डाउट है छोटा सा, if you have time.
Yeah, please.
सर, आपने प्रावेक का एग्जांपल लिया था, and you had said कि 8 crores of assets are giving 45 crores of sales. So
Ma'am,
how much?
That is called asset turnover ratio.
हाँ, तो 67 करोड़ के एसेट पे सेल्स कितना आएगा? And you had computed 240. So I couldn't find out कि कैसे आया वो 240.
1 करोड़ के सेल्स पे 45 करोड़ का आपका वो आ रहा है, तो व्हाट इज योर एसेट टर्नओवर रेशियो?
Just a second, let me just grab the calculator.
To calculate this, you need to go back to the book, romancing the balance sheet. Please उस book को दोबारा पढ़िए, and you need to go back to batch 2 archives and do the basics over there. आपको ये चीज करनी आ जाएगी. ये चीज मैं उसमें बैच 2 आर्काइव में करा चुका हूँ. Divide your sales by your assets, you will get the asset turnover ratio. Now, if your asset turnover ratio
divided by 8 is 5.
What is the asset? 8 crores, 5 crores?
8 crores.
So 45 divided by 8 is how much?
5.6. Yes.
So then multiply 5.6 by 67.
हाँ, तो सर वो 376 आ रहा है. 240 बोल रहे थे ना आप?
क्वेश्चन ये है ना कि ये इतना ही मल्टीपल सस्टेन करेगा, तो I must have taken a conservative number of maybe 4.
Okay.
Or maybe 3.5.
हम्म.
Always be conservative ना. अगर इससे ऊपर परफॉर्म करेगा तो then that is icing on the cake.
Okay. मतलब लॉजिक यही है ना? एक्चुअली मुझे बस वो कंफ्यूजन था.
हाँ, लॉजिक यही है. इसका लॉजिक रोमांसिंग द बैलेंस शीट एंड बैच 2 आर्काइव्स दोनों के अंदर मिल जाएगा आपको.
ओके सर, थैंक यू.
चलो, ओके, थैंक यू.